Welcome back to the North Florida Wrestling Show. Today we have on Jason Westlager of Grappling House and the director of the spring series that went down a couple weeks ago. We're here to talk about the results of it, how much it's growing the area, as well as freestyle and Greco, and their venture into their new facility in the next coming weeks. Jason, welcome back to the show, man.
How's it going, man? Good to talk to you.
Oh, dude, it's awesome. Yeah, dude, I'm glad that you had a nice little camping trip. Got to get refreshed. You look it.
Yeah, it's been nice. The season is draining, as I'm sure you know. There's just not a lot of time for rest on the coaching side, so it was really nice to just unwind with the family for 3-4 days out in the woods a little bit and refresh myself.
Yeah, because I mean, even with like the spring series, like as easy as the Warzone tournaments tend to be, like there's still, you have a lot of people that need your attention at those tournaments. So it's nice that you got a little bit of that break. But speaking of, I went to 2 of the events. They all seemed very well run. I think there was a couple issues at the Bay one, but nothing really, that bothered me too much. My kids got the matches that they needed, and we got out. There was a lot of good competition too. There were some kids that were after it. So a quick shout out Kolt Palmer for winning the number 1 spot and walking away with the top belt, going I think like 17-0 over the course of like two events. Yeah, so he was pretty on fire, I believe, right?
Yeah, he crushed it. So he was this has only been going on for 3 years, but he was the first kid that we've had win the event, not coming to at least 3 events. So he got 17 matches over 2 events, or an average of 8.5 in 2 hours at each event, and went undefeated, won the whole thing. And, obviously those that know Colt know that he's pretty darn good, and, a bunch of national accolades and stuff. So, yeah, he ran the table, went 17-0, and took home the top prize. So he did very, very well.
Yeah, I want to shout out to that number 2 guy, Jason Marsala, as well. He was getting after it at both of those tournaments that he attended to. I think he only got 2 as well, and he was taking on pretty much everybody that he could get. So that was very good to see. I want to make a special mention of y'all's Joseph Steppian of Grappling House, because he really wanted a belt, and he was getting after it, and he was getting matches after matches. He had a lot of close ones with our Miles Rinkus over at Niceville. And he ended up with a hammer, and my Steven got a belt, and he wanted a hammer, and he offered Joseph the opportunity to trade for it. And this kind of hit me, and I was thinking about it just before the podcast, and it got me kind of emotional. Like, he was like, no, he turned down the opportunity, and he was like, no, I have to earn it. And that really, like, I was like, man, that makes me so proud of you, for you to like say that and turn that down and be like, no, I'm going to get one next time. And I think that really, speaks to what you've kind of created over the last couple series. So congratulations to you on another successful, series.
Appreciate it. With Joey that you just mentioned, what makes me even more proud of that is that I'm learning about that for the first time right now. I feel like a lot of kids in that situation would be like, not bragging about it, but kind of like going up to coach and being like, he tried to trade me, and I told him I want to earn it, and kind of tooting their own horn or singing their own praises a little bit. The fact that I would have never known had you not told me, that's a big character move on a 10-year-old's part. So I like to hear that. You can see.
I know. I'm looking forward to him getting the belt, and then that'll make me cry. So when that happens, just go ahead and try to like put a shot to me if you want to see me, tearing up and probably weeping a little bit. But I love those moments. I love seeing that. That's a cool thing. I didn't know that you didn't know that. I thought I told you that before.
No.
But so
I want to call out one more kid, and I hope he hears this. I'll let his dad know. So I forget, I don't know if you have the results in front of you. I do not. But Levi Siegel, who's Grappling House kid, has been in the sport of wrestling for 10 months. He went to all 4 events. I think he got 6 or 7 wins an event and ended up finishing in the top 10. But at the beginning, when we announced everything, he had kind of foregone competing in the IOF just because they had tried one event and it was a little bit outside of his wheelhouse. He literally just practiced all regular season long, put in the work there, and then him and I did a ton of private lessons, working on implementing leg riding into his wrestling. And then his first real set of competitions was the spring series. And man, did that kid kill it. So he's been at it for 10 months. He has what's known as Asperger's, or I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce it, but it's high functioning autism. But a phenomenal kid, pays attention well, does all the right things on and off the mat. And I was really happy to watch him set the goal, complete the goal, finish top 10. I think he finished ninth or so. But very proud of that kid. I hope he hears this because he deserves the praise. Levi Siegel. It's a name you'll be hearing for a while.
That's good. So I also want to point out that there was quite a bit of freestyle going on at these tournaments. I know that we're trying to get that incorporated into the area. Due to I think just more scheduling conflict, we had to forego the Saturday event. But there was still quite a bit over the two events that I saw of people being like, I want to get a freestyle match. I want to get a freestyle match. And I'll even say, so like, I didn't have my kids in it, but I can tell you that like next time with a couple more practices under their belt and them seeing it, I could see myself being like, yeah, go ahead and wrestle, Bear or John or whoever in a freestyle match, enough. So I think that's a great way to introduce people into the sport. And we were coaching a lot of you were coaching a lot of the referees on like, hey, this is how it's scored, or like, even during the match. And no one was taking it too serious to be like, okay, we're all trying to figure this out as we go along. And that's imperative to growing that style in this area,
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's not really known as a freestyle area. It's, up until recently, a lot of kids kind of started in ninth grade. So you got 4 years to figure it out quick. And there hasn't been a reason to really jump into freestyle because let's just focus on getting as good as we can in folk style in 4 years. Now that we have youth kind of ramped up here, I think it's really important that we get into freestyle. I've given my thoughts on that in the past, how important it is and things like that. But it was really nice to see kids embracing it. And even cooler, I think, on my end is that a lot of kids that I saw at tournaments who have never trained it before and just thought it looked cool and had no idea what they were doing out there as far as how to score points and things like that came up and said, hey, can I try a freestyle match? How do I do that? And, have never done a freestyle practice before. Mainly high school kids, but either way, I mean, it's an interesting style to a lot of people, and you score points differently and matches can happen very, very quickly. If you catch a technique and roll them 4 or 5 times, match over. And so I think a lot of kids embraced it. It was mainly high school kids in general wrestling freestyle, I think I saw, but a lot of middle school and some youth jumped in as well. And so it was a really good first step in the right direction, I think.
Yeah, especially now that you have we got the Not Playing Janes going off and competing in a lot of freestyle competitions. A little segue there. We want them to be competitive. So I know I have 2 girls from Niceville that's going to be on one of the teams, and they are just learning freestyle for the first time. I know they're going to have a great head about it, go out there and compete. They might get beat up a little bit and learn, but it would be nice to it'd be nice for them to have a bit bigger base, to go into it, because we only really get a very limited amount of time to work with them in freestyle.
Yeah, the Not Playing Janes thing is going to be a blast. We actually just sent out all of our gear order stuff this morning, and we got that all squared away. And I think we have 3 or 4 spots left for our team, but it's over the same weekend as the FAWA State tournament in Kissimmee, which is actually Silver Spurs Arena where the state tournament's at. They're doing Spartan/FAWA State this year. And we, for the first time, have 2 teams of girls, which is pretty awesome. So we have our pink team and purple team. The pink is typically the more experienced girls and the girls that were with us last year, and the purple is a hodgepodge of panhandle girls that want the experience. And we're looking forward to it. It's nice that it is freestyle, just because I think it's important that everybody learn it a little bit. I'd like to get your opinion on this. Why why is it freestyle only for the girls at most of these national tournaments? I don't quite understand it.
I don't
I know that they're doing
I don't
well.
know. It's the same thing. It's the same thing with Greco. I don't understand why there's not like Greco for girls. Like that would always kind of, boggled me a little bit. I'm like, girls can go stand up only. Like,
Yeah.
so I think if you're gonna offer it, offer like. But then again, I think it's probably because they do freestyle in college. Same reason. Like they're trying to kind of get them prepared for that. That would be the only reason that I could think of.
Yeah.
I feel like if they switched it to folk style in college, they would switch it to folk style for those national
Well,
events.
so this is just me playing devil's advocate because I kind of, like I said, I like the freestyle. It's good for the girls to learn because they're going to have to do it in college. But if that were the case, why is high school folk style?
I think you would probably find a lot of people that would side with you and say, and if they were, it was them that was like making the decision, they would probably make girls wrestling in high school freestyle. But that would be very hard. I mean,
It's
because
interesting
then again,
because
you'd have to have reps. Yeah, yeah. I mean, you'd have to think about it because then it'd be like two different. It should be two different seasons. That'd be going down the whole kind of rabbit hole of should they even be in the same season? Should they completely separate it? 100%. Have it like men's go before the women's, or like men's in the winter, girls in the spring, or something like that.
see, I'm kind of going the opposite route. Even though I love freestyle, I would like to see girls high school be folk style, and then college be folk style, just like the NCAA men's. And then if those women want to transition into the Olympic styles, they do so just like the men did.
I agree. I think I'm not really sure I buy into the argument that, we it diminishes our Olympic team, our world teams, because we have so much high level wrestlers in this country and we're producing more and more every day. I mean, look how many high level wrestlers are not on the Olympic team this year. Or look how many high level wrestlers never like don't make the world team. So I don't think that like having college wrestling or not having college wrestling be freestyle like inhibits our ability to wrestle freestyle or Greco on the national stage.
Right.
I think that speaks more to like just the development post,
Yeah.
collegiate season.
I've heard it
But
said
that's just me.
multiple times. And Coach Mason, who came down to Niceville for the clinic, Coach Mason is the Team Florida Fargo head coach for freestyle and Greco. He said, wrestling's wrestling. And no matter what style, he said it's not all the same. You score points different, things like that. But if you're good at folk style, you're going to transition well folks to free or transition well to Greco. And so, the argument has always been for America, I think, that it's been hard for folk style wrestlers to transition to freestyle. But we've seen recently with the success of the world and Olympic teams that that's not necessarily true anymore. And so, I don't know. For me, I'd like to see high school and college women's be folk style, and then they can transition if they would like. And obviously, off season freestyle and things like that. But this all came up in my mind because we took a team to Poseidon, where I didn't personally go. I was camping, obviously, but a bunch of our kids went to Poseidon. All of the boys across the board, all folk style. The only freestyle in the entire event was the girls' individuals. And so it was like, why is that a thing? But
Yeah, just keep it uniform.
that's it. But anyways, yeah.
Yeah,
So
I'm not sure. I feel like they should do a poll. I don't know. We're not gonna continue into that too much forward. I feel like we go down the rabbit hole on that
for
one.
sure,
You guys are getting a new facility.
we are. It came about in an interesting way, but life hands you lemons, you make lemonade, and we're making it. So what happened was, I won't get into the details, but so right now I'm actually in our facility that we'll have for about 30 more days. You can kind of look around here. We roll out our mats every day. It's a giant indoor soccer field. We moved here in November, and we planned to be here till next November. We found out due to some scheduling errors and some, overlaps of their program to our program, and just general disagreements on some basic things. We found out that our lease was getting terminated early, and it was supposed to be November, and it turned into June. So we were notified April 1, and we had 60 days to figure it out. But the long-term goal has always been get our own facility where we can do what we want when we want, have enough space to grow, and just become the best team we can, have all the workout equipment we want, climbing ropes, resistant bands, all the things that you need to kind of get your kids to a high level. And we got that. So we found a 3,000 square foot facility that is in a place called Railroad Square, which is like a minute or two from the FSU football stadium, right kind of off to the side of the Florida State campus in the art district, and restaurants and all kinds of activities to do around it. And we're looking forward to it. But the only kind of, I guess, issue was the timing. Had I planned to end my lease in November, or end the club's lease in November, and then move somewhere in December, I would have probably started planning right around now at the beginning of May financially to make that all happen. Unfortunately, with the short timeline and the way it all went down, I don't have the finances in place to get all the things we need. So like here, our mats are rolled out and we have a 20-foot gap between the wall and the end of our mat. There, it'll be butted right up to the wall. So I've got to have wall mats. Something I don't need when I'm subletting at a facility like this, but something that's necessary on day one there to prevent injury. Parent seating is already all here. I'm sitting in one of the 60 chairs they have here for the soccer games. And so we've got to purchase all that. There's minor renovations. We don't have an air conditioner. And so we've got a parent that's donating the air conditioner. We have a parent that's donating the time and expertise to run the electric to that. We have one parent that's donating a TV. We have a sound system coming in. I mean, parents of our team, I've always said they're the best, but they've really, really stepped up to kind of make this transition happen on short notice. And so we're going to see how it all plays out in the next 30 days. I'll get the keys here in 2 weeks, and then we have 2 weeks to make all the renovations, get the air installed, and start practicing. So.
Man, that's awesome. Like, it's good. I am not surprised that like the parents are hopping into action. You have some good people over there. Shout out to David and Jordana for helping us out whenever our car broke down over there. But like even though still like I sent you a message and then you sent it out, and like within I think like 5 or 10 minutes we had 4 or 5 different numbers reaching out to us saying like, hey, what's the situation? How can we help? So I'm glad that y'all are in a new situation, and we'll put this out there to see if we can't help you out get up to that financial goal of y'all's. Can y'all run? Y'all need wall mats day one, don't y'all?
Yep. And so so here's what I did is I put out a crowdfunding to try to get the bare necessities of everything that's like needed. And so we put out a crowdfunding for $3,500. I think right now we have like 2,600 accounted for with like 12 or 13 more days. So I'm hopeful that we'll get there. But for wall mats, I owned a facility previously in Pennsylvania, and we quickly found out that the wall mats needed for a big facility are $7,500, $8,000, which is about what they would be here. But my business partner and I up north built our own. So we took some plywood, we glued like a memory foam material, about 1.5 inch memory foam to it, and then we vinyled over it and saved ourselves a lot of money. I plan to just do that again and buy all the materials with the funding that comes in from the crowdfunding campaign to save us a bunch of money. But yeah, it's a short timeline and it's a big project, and there's a lot that needs done between now and then, but we'll find a way. We'll get it done.
Yeah, you guys always do. I mean, I know y'all come back from this like even better than before. Like you said, great. I know the location that y'all talking about, like, or at least that area. that can be very beneficial to y'all. Like, who knows? That might end up growing y'all's numbers to something where you're like, oh man, we need more space now.
Yeah,
Like that happened to us at Niceville. So I mean, I know y'all come out on the other side.
that's it.
I want your opinion on something. I was actually just on Facebook talking to a couple people about this. How do you feel about a North Florida All-Star team for the high schoolers going off to these national tournaments
So
and representing? Do you think it'd work? Do you think it would, or do you think it should? Some people are advocating more for the Panhandle. I'd like to see a whole North Florida one, reaching out to the Swanee boys, the Jacksonville boys, put in those Tallahassee kids as well. Put up a team that when they go up there, it's like we're expecting them to compete and do well.
I think it's a cool idea. It depends what event. So I think the thread you're talking about was for Deep South. Disney duels, every local team seems to send their own kids to Disney duels, so it's tough to do anything for that. But for Deep South, I think that's a cool idea. I've always been really big on it's important for kids who are elite, want to be elite, above average, to kind of get to know other kids in the region. Because what happens is they start to like seek one another for practice opportunities. And we'll have like a random, I won't say names, but we'll have like a random above average kid on our team that gets up with his buddy in Jacksonville that he got to know through a dual event and runs over and hits a practice for 2 straight days, hits 3 or 4 practices and just gets extra work in. And so I think it's a good idea. I don't know, logistically how it all works with, certain kids will be already committed elsewhere and things like that, but that could certainly work. And it would help things. I think it would be really good for our boys to get to know Jacksonville kids well and Sewanee kids well and all that.
Well, I mean, and for these events, a lot of times like it's just for matches, but we could build up a team where it's like, all right, hey, this is the team that we're sending that, we're expecting them to maybe go out there and bring home some hardware,
Yeah.
like, and I mean, there's only like what 14 spots, so all these teams can still go in and get their competition in with their high school teams, and then maybe get a kid that wouldn't get an opportunity at a spot and be like, all right, hey, here's your chance, come in and fill this spot. We got our, one of our kids going out and being on like this team where, and it'd be cool to build it up like as it builds year after year. There's only a limited amount of spots on it. So like, for example, South Florida had the South Florida Lightning for the longest time, that Joe Blasucci from Somerset ran, which I think he's bringing back, I hope. But like, even with that was kind of cool. It's like, oh, hey, I was on the Lightning back in like 09 or 08. It'd be cool to like have something for North Florida. But it's like, oh, I was on the North Florida All-Star team back in like, whatever. Or they see a single, it's like, oh, you were on that team. Like, oh yeah, I was on that team. Like where it's a very exclusive, like kind of what you're doing with the Not Playing Janes, because like that's going to keep on growing. And as freestyle wrestling and the girls get better, there's going to be girls that are like, oh, you were on that team. I'm like, yeah, we were on that team. That's our team. I'm like, yeah, I'm that good, I'm Not Playing Jane good.
No doubt. I think it could work well. I think you should put it together. I saw Zane was talking about it, and I didn't see who else was in that thread, but I think enough coaches in the area tend to send their good kids to these dual tournaments, and they just like pick a random squad from wherever in the country to jump on. That if you took all those kids and kind of put them on the same squad, it would be a competitive squad. And again, it's good for those kids to get to know one another because a lot of times it's 1 or 2 hours of proximity between 2 kids that don't know one another that would be amazing practice partners and help each other get really good at the sport. And if they become friends, they're going to find a way to get up with one another in the off season, and that stuff definitely helps progress. So I'm all for it.
Yeah. Well, I know you got a ton of stuff to do today, getting ready to move into that new facility and flourish in that new opportunity. Anything else you want to leave us with?
Uh, well, I guess we got our next big thing is Freestyle States. Those, I guess, message to all the kids that tried freestyle this off season. It doesn't hurt for you to go there and give it a go. It goes 6U to 14U. It's in Kissimmee. June 1st is the individuals, and then the 2nd is all the duels. But Freestyle States is a good opportunity to not only see get to wrestle that style in kind of like a state format, but also that tournament's attended by all the Miami kids, all the Orlando kids, all the best Tampa kids, all the best kids from around the state that we want to beat when the time comes for individual Freestyle State. We get an opportunity to see them in the off season too, and it's important that we embrace that. So if you tried freestyle this off season, think about trying the Freestyle State tournament on June 1st.